artifacts. We analyze artifacts of human remains to provide information about ethnicity, religion, socioeconomic status, and occupation. Heritage forensic is where anthropology and archaeology meets critical criminal justice. We analyze artifacts of human remains and understanding the past and honoring the identities of those who lost. Status and occupation. Okay. Heritage forensic is where anthropology and archaeology meets critical criminal justice. Hello. And understanding the past and honoring the identities of those who lost. Status and occupation. I'm having trouble. It's delayed here. Is where anthropology and archaeology meets critical justice. And understanding the past and honoring the identities of those who lost. I'm having trouble. It's delayed here. Is where anthropology and archaeology meets critical justice. Okay, can I start now again? Okay, so just to continue, it contributes significantly to solving crimes in the Philippines and at the same time protecting the cultural heritage. In the Philippines, we follow the law in compliance with Republic Act 11333, Cultural Historical Act of 2010, R8 166, Presidential Decree 374, Cultural Properties Protection and Preservation Act of 1974. So what is the importance of cultural heritage? Especially in forensic, as apart from protection of cultural heritage, we could recognize field-based study, at the same time documentation of different crimes, especially in disaster management, risk management. So what are the different methods used in doing forensic heritage? There's site excavation. This is based on my experience in doing archaeology, contextual analysis, and at the same time, material analysis. As you can see, we do excavation depending on the scale and the purpose of excavation. If we're doing burial excavation, we just use a hand shovel. If it is quite big, we use machineries like excavators and bulldozers. In site excavation, if there's archaeology, if we're using archaeology, we do unearthing artifacts and different structures. At the same time, we observe stratigraphy of the soil. We construct ground buildings and different foundation. At the same time, we do excavate the mining sites and check the mineral or resources of the earth or the soil. At the same time, we do environmental remediation, removing contaminated soil or pollutants from the site. While doing this, before the excavation, we do the site planning and survey. We check the different sites, especially in burial sites. As you can see, this is the train station that we're doing now as part of our project to save the old sites in the Philippines. Likewise, as you can see, I'm looking at the contextual analysis, the bigger picture of the building or the structure. This is a the 18th century structure the Grueso Prensado, a train station built by the British prior to the American or Spanish time. We do this at the same time. We do analysis of artifacts and fossils in the laboratory to learn about the site's history and the environment. As you can see, we are trying to identify the different content of the train station. This is an old train station built during the American time. In order for us to save the site, the structure, we need to get samples of the structure and do the analysis in the laboratory. One good example and the advantage of doing heritage forensic is the development to save the structures in the development. Like, for example, this is an old turntable at the Crescent province. We are trying to excavate and to, at the same time, to extract the old turntable at the site. We do this by documenting, assessing, and planning. And of course, at the same time, we reconstruct the structure. To do this, we are honoring our history and, of course, to enrich the future stories for the future generation. This is a good sample of turntable built by during the American time. So forensic analysis in heritage is a good technique for restoration. Of course, when you say heritage forensic, it's more of the restoring, saving the structure of the old sites. Like, for example, the old station during the 1892, it was created during 1892. We were able to extract this under the soil. And this is also important, especially for those people who are visiting the site, to educate them about the history of the train station. We are doing extraction of the structure. Another example using heritage forensic is the World War II stories. It is a proven cases, a good technique in doing what was left behind. Like, for example, unmarked graves, the missing persons, unidentified remains, by using or analyzing the artifacts, the personal effects, and the skeletal remains. So different disciplines come together to analyze the site. And this is a good example. During my time, the Department of Justice called us to investigate the skeletons that were found at the site. Okay, so there's that interdisciplinary collaboration with an archaeologist, with a pathologist, and at the same time, as a social anthropologist, we identify the different artifacts to know the social status and to know the ethnicity of the person that was found there. So at the during the excavation, during the accidental excavation, because of the development, we use DJI Mavic Mini 2 drone shots in order to us to find the burial sites. And this is these are the skeletons or the skulls that we found. Well, based on the analysis in our laboratory, based on Hefner's analysis, the skulls were the skull who owns that are the Caucasian descent, and others are Asian. As you can see, there's the exit wound, left temporal gunshot wound. So we try to analyze the skull, at the same time measurement of the gunshot by using different methods in archaeology and anthropology. We also found at the site different buckles, pin, and leather belt. And this is very important for us to understand that this buckles with sakura flowers owned by, well, during that time, World War II, in our building in UP Manila. So, what is the importance of heritage forensic in mass disaster? This is gradually introducing in our country because uh, in a way, we are quite weak in forensic science, but we have a lot of different disciplines in order for us to investigate, especially to mass disasters. Why is it heritage forensic being crucial in identifying and preserving cultural heritage of disaster victims and affected communities? It offers alternative avenues for piecing together identities and bringing closure to families. This is a beacon of hope. And of course, we can help to identify and reconciliate with the families, with, and of course, in partnership with the traditional forensic scientists, with DNA and other evidences. This aids reuniting families, providing closure, and honoring the memories of the disease. Another good example is the devastated that felt in the Philippines, the Typhoon Haiyan and the Typhoon Odette, earthquake in Bohol, the same area. So apart from using heritage forensic, we also use historical analysis in order for us to identify the same places that have this kind of disaster. Okay? It holds a great significance for the communities. We do interviews with the different communities. What are the different disasters took place in that area? So you can see, same area, same devastation, same disaster. So when you say cultural heritage, it's preservation of cultural identity. And heritage forensic can help assess the damage and recovery and preservation of the cultural identity. This is one of the good example. One of the grim scenes uncovered, the skeletons found at the mass burial during the Typhoon Haiyan. And most of those victims are wearing seashells. And based on this cultural artifacts, we can say that most of the victims are from the maritime group or the fishing communities. Documentation like historical investigation, okay? We can tell that prior to the American time, prior to the Spanish time, we are actually experiencing disaster at the same area, using old photographs, using old documents, assessing old files of the disaster. Another example, exhuming the death during it's a recent time. It's about the drug war in the Philippines. That it's more of distressing pictures. The heritage forensics were called in order for us to identify the personal mementos, and this added the emotions of the especially the terrible discovery of some of the personal belongings of the victims. Most of the victims are wearing jewelries, and others have this personal things like combs, pencils, ball pens, and notebooks. So, based on the heritage forensic investigation, what information can we glean about the victims' identities and backgrounds from these artifacts? Who utilizes pencils, pens, and combs? So if you identify those occupations, those victims, most likely they are workers, construction workers, or probably office workers. So based on this cultural artifacts, we can identify their occupations. We know that what really happened for that reason. They're saying they died because of probably some of the causes during war on drugs, but most of them died on pneumonia. And that this is very unfortunate in the Philippines, that the causes of death for those who died with those particular personal mementos died, almost all of them, of pneumonia. Heritage forensic can also help in psychosocial support. Like, for example, we provide helping survivors to cope up with the trauma and grief. One of my during one of my lecture, during the lecture, one of the frontliners told me that he is still experiencing trauma and taking some medicines because of the scent of those victims during war on drugs. So the psychosocial support is also part of the heritage forensic, because most of the people or most of the experts are sociologists, psychologists, anthropologists, and archaeologists. Cultural artifacts offer insights, of course, victims, and these are samples of the skeletons we are studying. These are victims of war on drugs. We get to try to piece together the identities and the stories of the victims. And one of the saddest part of our work is to identifying the cause of death of the 10-year-old boy in this laboratory. Another, if there are no bodies, no graves, only candles or lightings are used are used by the families in this kind of situation. So the task of the heritage forensic is to document the stories behind the tragedy, and of course, and bring closure to the families with the help of our psychiatrists and psychologists. Another, what is the advantage of having heritage forensic, are identifying, of course, the grave goods to give us information about the deceased, the ethnicity, and the religious beliefs. In the Philippines, we have a lot of religious practices. We have Catholics, we have Muslims, so on and so forth. So based on these cultural artifacts, we identify ethnicity. At the same time, we tell stories about the religious background. The heritage forensic in action was used also during the 2004 tsunami in Southeast Asia. They found jewelry, personal belongings to identify the victims. At the same time, archaeological treasures is also important during the 9/11. Because of this, because of the recovered artifacts and the debris, they were able to identify the potential layout and the victim's location. So, what is the importance? Of course, the law. Okay, the importance of heritage forensic, respect for the dead, cultural sensitivity, the burial practices and cultural beliefs. We're so sensitive about our cultural practices, the burial beliefs in every site. We have a lot of different ethno-linguistic groups, so we have to know the different practices of these groups. Provenance, of course, ensuring proper documentation, the chain of custody of these artifacts, which are essential for their historical value. What is so significant about the heritage forensic? There's community involvement. Other investigation, they tend to, of course, reduce the information coming from the community or engaging the community in local communities. But in heritage forensic, this is very crucial. because it's a powerful tool in honoring the past, identifying the lost, fostering deeper understanding of our cultural heritage. Yes, in the Philippines, we have a lot of challenges because of this incomplete evidences. And, we are suffering a lot of disasters because of we are part of the ring of fire. So because of the, government funded, probably no funds, there are some incomplete evidences because disaster scattered and damaged all the belongings. And for us, making reconstruction of identities is quite difficult. As you can see, there are a lot of bodies lying around the site. This is the Haiyan typhoon. So challenges to address. One is funding and resources. As you can see, this is my laboratory at the University of the Philippines. It's just a small room using our own funds in order for us to understand the different causes of death, of course, the different artifacts, okay? The standardization and regulation. Heritage forensic is not new, actually. We have a lot of experts in the Philippines, but we need to be in one probably role in understanding the crimes and, of course, in mass disaster and disaster preparedness, integrating heritage forensic. There are some issues about the heritage forensic. If there's investigation, we are not qualified to investigate. There's the tendency of we are not allowed to investigate. Probably after the forensic investigation of the experts or pathologists or the NBI in the Philippines, that's our chance to understand the site. So we are working cross-disciplinary collaboration to build a holistic approach in the Philippines, because there's a combination of traditional forensic methods, the DNA analysis, and historical records. Working together with the forensic anthropologists, archaeologists, historians, cultural experts, and others, we can build a good interpretation of the mass disaster investigation and crimes. Here we use remote sensing in order for us to identify the burial sites. We use technology. We can identify different cultural sites using this remote sensing method. Archival research is important. As I've said, we use old maps, we use old documentation for the past cultural significance. Not just crimes in the Philippines, not just war on drugs, not on mass disaster. Also, our job is to determine the identified fake artifacts and, of course, the stolen items, which is the natural treasure of the Philippines. In law and advocacy, we use legal proceedings to hold accountable, to advocate the protection of cultural heritage, because during the American time, we don't have this law, and most of our artifacts were found in the different museum internationally. Okay? So we are trying to recover those artifacts in order to understand our culture. Okay, so those are the properties of the national government. So what's the difference between the traditional forensic investigator and heritage forensic investigators? Let me provide me to give me time for this. Traditional forensic investigators, they more on objectivity, on ethical consideration. But for the heritage forensic, we recognize the cultural and historical significance. Traditional forensic investigator, they follow established protocols. But for the heritage forensic investigators, consider the rights, sensitivities of affected communities. Ethical consideration, they maintain the chain of custody. We, for heritage forensic, emphasizes collaboration with the stakeholders and indigenous groups. Actually, we need to tell them what is going on in the investigation. It's more of the public presentation of the specific case. Approach to evidence. For the traditional forensic investigator, they collect physical evidences and the use of scientific methods. For us, heritage forensic, we examine material culture, the personal effect, and we employ interdisciplinary techniques. The relationship with the families, traditional forensic investigators, this tends to ensure objectivity and information to law. But for us, heritage forensic, we acknowledge cultural significance, and we involve the family, especially those cases in the Philippines that you saw. For the reporting and dissemination, we present the traditional forensic investigator, they present findings in a scientific manner. But for us, we communicate findings, what is accessible and meaningful to diverse stakeholders, specifically the communities. We consider the ethical implications of how information is shared and used. Accountability. Traditional forensic investigator here in the Philippines, they follow protocols, procedures, answer to the law. We, heritage forensic, are accountable to communities, indigenous groups, cultural organization or heritage organization, and we adhere international guidelines and ethical frameworks of ICOM Code of Ethics. So the key differences lie in the heritage forensic investigators, cultural sensitivity, community engagement, ethical implication of their work, in addition to scientific and technical aspect of investigation. Another, for the aspect of time frame, for the traditional forensic investigator, it's modern crime. They solve cases quickly to apprehend the suspect and prevent further crimes, and operates under time. But for us, heritage forensic, we go back, can be centuries and millennia old. We deal cases that occurred in the distant past, and of course, faces challenges in dating and contextualizing artifacts due to passage of time. Evidence in traditional physical evidences, strict protocols. For us, we document artifacts, archaeological sites. We employ non-destructive evidence analysis. They use modern scientific and timely results. For us, heritage forensic, interdisciplinary, and of course, interpreting evidence due to the passage of time, lack of documentation. We are trying now the cold cases. Okay, we are trying to solve the cold cases if there are evidences or documentations. Okay, technical proceedings for the traditional forensic investigators. Collaboration, work closely with the law and maintain professional distance. And we don't have any actually good collaboration with the other investigators here. For the forensic investigators, there's diverse stakeholders, information is shared and used, and of course, collaboration and recognizes the cultural and historical significance. What is the standing of our forensic heritage in the Philippines now? We have experts in isotopic analysis, though it's very expensive. We are trying to produce 3D printing and reconstruction for the personal belongings, and advanced databases, extensive databases for the cultural artifacts. Because because of this, we are trying to interpret, of course, to investigate the different ethno. We have 171 plus ethno-linguistic groups in the Philippines. Emergent techniques, we have this forensic palynology by Dr. J, forensic botany, and forensic entomology. As you can see, we are just using our classroom because we are working with the government, and the government lacked funds to give funds to the public schools like UP, University of the Philippines. But we are trying to our best in order to educate the students also, especially those interns from different schools, especially from different parts of the country. These are ethno-linguistic groups. And actually, these are ethno-linguistic group students from Banawe, one of the group in the Philippines. And we are trying, thank you for Dr. Singh. We are trying to collaborate with the different countries. Thank you for inviting me here. Using digital platforms, creating a platform online, of course, introducing our discipline and trying to do the standardized protocols with the help of the different experts and the community involvement at the same time. We are introducing a new course, and that's the sponsor of that will be our topic, the next conference, the 5th conference in the Philippines, and that's the community forensic, introduction of community forensic in the community to educate the community how forensic works, strengthen the community collaboration, promote public trust in criminal justice. That's the big problem in the Philippines, and utilizing technology for improved data collection and analysis. These are the latest pictures of the experts. We are trying to collaborate with them. What are the new technologies for forensic science? And of course, at the same time, we are doing our task, doing the heritage forensic in archaeology. So the benefits, it increased identification rates, hopefully, more accurate and complete victim profiles, faster turnaround times, improve the technology, respectful handling of remains. You cannot just barge around and do the investigation. With the culture of the Philippines is different. We have a lot of rituals, especially in the burial practices in the dead. So the success of forensic investigation here, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary, and transdisciplinary, hasten slowly. Cultural sensitivity, empathy is very important. Compassion, especially for those victims, families of the victims, and at the same time, the first responders. Platforms offer avenues for the community to aid the persons undergoing process of mourning. In mourning, we have at least 2 weeks to prepare the dead bodies. Okay. So based on this picture, the picture in the laboratory of pathology at the College of Medicine and the victims of the war on drugs, I've created, and well, based on this, I've created a poem. Permit me to read the poem based on this investigation. Beyond the love. In labs of science, the truth we seek, through whispers felt by bodies weak. But justice thrives beyond the scene, respect for cultures and what it means. Not just fingerprints and DNA, but stories whispered from afar. A burial rite, a sacred dress, respect these threads in every quest. For life's tapestry, rich and vast, stretches beyond the present's grasp. Ancestral voices custom deep, guides how we slumber, how we sleep. So let not science be a blade that severes ties with those long laid. Let cultural sensitivity be the light that shines on truth, both dark and bright. Through understanding, justice thrives, respect for lost and shattered lives. For in each case, a soul resides, honored by methods and confined. So let us delve with a gentle hand, unravel the truth across the land. Cultural sensitivity, hearts inclined to heal the wounds that deaths entwine. So there you are, and that's my presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and hello everyone. Thank you.
Our heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Vishwan for taking the time to join us online today. Your presence and insights are immensely valuable to all of us. I would like to express my sincere appreciation to Dr. Vishwan for making the effort to connect with us online despite the time difference and long distance. Your dedication and commitment to be the part of this event truly demonstrate your professionalism and passion. Thank you for your flexibility and for contributing so meaningfully to our discussion. Times have changed remarkably, enabling people to connect effortlessly across vast distances. Advances in technology have made it possible to communicate instantly and collaborate online from anywhere in the world. This ability to stay connected has transformed the way we work, learn, and maintain relationships, bringing us closer than ever before. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the
As we
opportunity.
proceed, now, I would like to welcome Dr. Mukesh Kumar Thakkar, HOD, Department of Forensic Science, Punjab University, Patiala, as a session chair for first session of day 2